Marketing and advertising.
Hey guys, Tim Schmidt here, Agency 511. When you've got marketing and advertising on your mind 24/7, think Agency 511. And everybody, I am very excited here today. We're going to talk radio advertising in the medium of traditional radio. And I've got guest speaker with me, John Schroeder from Townsquare Media. Go ahead and say hello, John.
Hello, Tim, and hello, everybody. Tim's massive online audience.
Yeah,
I'm serious. I bet there's tens of thousands of people who just worship at your altar.
Oh yeah, all seven of them.
Take what you can get, right?
Absolutely. No, that's what's fun about all this. But what we're doing though is just bringing awareness. During COVID-19, I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that their lives have been changed and their businesses have transformed, and we've had this kind of a coined word out there called pivot. And I don't know if you've seen it, John, but I've seen a lot of pivoting lately. I mean, what have you been seeing out there?
Well, I think that's true, Tim. I think, a lot of people have had to examine what they've done in the past and whether or not it's still relevant now. Consumers gravitating toward online shopping and pickup and things of that nature, I think make it especially important that if your business doesn't have a solid online presence, it's way past time to get that done. Get that shored up, because that might be the primary way now that people are trying to do business with you and find out more. So that's important. And then I think the other thing that we always stress, whether it's radio or some other medium that you're in, you can to not pull back at times like this. Because while people may not be quite as willing to open their wallets or actively spend, they are still engaged. And likely your competition is pulling back. So if you continue the mantra of what you are, what you do, how you're different, chances are you'll have the playing field of yourself right now. And studies, Tim, have shown repeatedly, mostly during like recessions, when many businesses pulled back, studies have shown that the ones that kept their hand to the wheel came out of the recession, were way ahead of the game, and sometimes never gave up the market share that they gained because they were the only ones talking to those people.
Yeah, and I love the story from, I recently heard it from Roy Williams, and you introduced me to Roy Williams many years ago when you were my mentor in radio, and man, he talked about Proctor Gamble. And Procter Gamble back in the Great Depression was just a soap business, a small little soap company, not up to a whole lot. And then the Depression happened. And instead of kind of pulling back and retreating, like you're saying, what they did is they said, well, radio is a fantastic medium. Now, granted, television wasn't, it's just getting started at that time. Yep. And so they decided to sponsor every radio show they could. And it was basically radio drama at the time, stories on radio. And they sponsored all these dramas. And lo and behold, after the Depression started to lift, they started sponsoring television dramas, and literally became kind of the mecca of the soap business. And that's why when people say, I'm going to watch my soap in the afternoon, they're alluding to like Days of Our Lives or something along those lines, because Procter & Gamble sponsored them all. And they really grew, and they contribute all their success to that time of recession and depression and getting on the radio and getting on the air.
You know what, and that's one of many and more national or worldwide type examples, Tim, because we have empirical evidence of those, but one of many such cases like that, where the advertiser kept going through the recession, through the downturn, while their competitors pulled back, and they never looked back, the advertiser that kept up. Now, I'll say this is a lot easier said than done. If you're a small ma-pa business and you're living hand to mouth, month to month, and you don't have great cash flow, it's really difficult to keep your marketing going. But give it a shot. Do everything you can to keep going, even if you have to make other painful cuts elsewhere, because it's one indicator of how important marketing can be. That doing it, and again, it's counterintuitive. I mean, why would I advertise during a recession, or in this case, during COVID, when people are less likely to buy? Well, you're not so much advertising for right now. You are to some degree doing it now, but you're building a foundation for the future when you do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, when it comes to radio, I mean, I know a lot of people are jumping into digital spaces now, and my wife hates the saying, but I say you can't make a baby in a month by getting 9 women pregnant. And I think when those who don't have a social presence, those who don't have digital presence. They're kind of going all in and they're saying, well, I've got such a small limited budget and I can see that I get 10,000 impressions for my $50 spent online or something along those lines. But when you think about it compared to a cume number of radio listeners, and especially right now during, when people are really chiming in and listening to the news or escaping from the news, right? They want to hear their good vibes, their good music, and they're going for some emotional connection. A radio spot, a radio ad can reach way more masses of people in one ad set than your less than a second ad scroll that shows up on a digital platform. What are you seeing in the radio business when it comes to reach? What are you seeing out there?
Well, according to the Radio Advertising Bureau, currently about 92% of all Americans listen to commercial radio on a weekly basis.
92%.
92% of all of us. That makes radio now the #1 reach medium in America. It's passed up commercial television in that regard. Now, I will say this. That's all radio stations, all 15,000 plus combined for that 92% of Americans. One of the things that the RAB says is, well, that's more than Google and it's more than Facebook and it's more than all these. Well, Google and Facebook are single entities each. We're 15,000 plus stations. So take it with a grain of salt. Mm-hmm. I think the takeaway is that people still listen to radio in huge numbers. I will say this, Tim, I'm a believer, and you know this because you and I have talked about it before. I'm a believer that all forms of media and advertising can be effective if they fit your needs and if you use them properly. Mm-hmm. Radio, we use this analogy because we also do digital at Townsquare. We use this analogy. Radio is the top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
It's with TV, it's with billboard, it's with a lot of mass reach media in that we reach tons of people, but there's limited targeting. I mean, we target to some degree, radio formats. One format is one type of people, one format is another, but it's still mass reach. There's a place for that. You want a lot of people to know about what you do, what you offer, how you're different. But when you start doing digital, you start narrowing the funnel. Not only targeting men, or only targeting middle-aged men, or only targeting middle-aged truck driving men, or beer drinking men, or whatever, right? So the digital side tends to be more granular, more precise, and people like that. And I see that benefit. And like I say, we advocate it as well. Mm-hmm. But the benefit of having mass awareness of what you do, because it's not always the person who hears the message who responds and who comes to you. It may be the friend of that person, the family member of that person who says, oh, I have a problem with my lawnmower, I need it fixed. And the person who heard the radio ad about the repair shop says, well, I heard this guy's having a special right now. So that is also good.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's lots of recommendation sites out there, and there's neighborhood sites where neighborhood watches and things, and everyone's communicating on a high level in that degree. And especially right now, one thing I've seen during COVID-19 is we don't make spontaneous buying decisions very quickly. Everything is very thought out. It's educated. It needs to be precise. And so, with that consumer that's kind of more, cautious with their spending, you have to be a little bit more enticing, but not only enticing in your ad, but also influential to the other ears and the other people that are around them. So when they ask for that recommendation, they're going, oh yeah, I heard so-and-so. And I mean, if you're playing on the radio and you own the space because none of your competitors are doing it, that's a large cume audience that's going to speak, to keep that awareness of your brand or of your message.
Tim, to that point, do you remember this phrase? Most people spend 80% of their time considering where to advertise and 20% of their time figuring out what to say when they figure out where they're going to advertise. And it's just the opposite, right? You should spend 80% of your time focused on your brand, how you're different, what you offer that other people in your industry or type of work do not offer, and then you sing that to the high heavens and you continue to brand that point of difference. And do a good enough job with that, if you make good enough offers and have a compelling enough message, it matters a lot less where you deliver that message. It's really about the message, the offers, and how you're different.
Yeah, and to your point, you once taught me that. And I remember you talking about that, and I said, well, I had a client at the time, and they were a tire company in town, and they said, yeah, we aren't just sure if radio works right now. And so your message to me was to take back to them. We put together an ad that says, buy one tire, get three free. And it was, our tires are free, and it's a great special. And I presented that to the client, and they said, well, I can't run that. And we said, well, why not? And he said, well, because I won't make any money. I'm going to sell too many tires. And I said, well, then radio must work. Well, so it was kind of that point. If you have a good enough message, it's going to work. Now, John, are you seeing people getting back to the basics then? I mean, getting really down to the nitty gritty of what is their unique selling position? I mean, how basic and granular are people getting now?
I guess my experience, Tim, is that that part of it's pretty much the same as it's always been. In fact, it may have declined a little bit because clients, businesses are more in need of instant gratification now than they've ever been.
That's a good point.
We have businesses that are dying on the vine right now due to COVID-19, and it's a tragedy. And so they're desperate. They're trying to figure out some way, somehow, to generate more business, more traffic, more sales. And so maybe they're not taking the long look, the long view approach right now as much as they should. And I understand that. So I would say, if anything, it might have gone backwards a little bit.
Interesting.
I think the key thing is, again, whatever form of advertising you use, evaluate whether or not it's right for your need, and then find out, how does it work? How can it be successful? Ask for empirical evidence of your sales rep. Tell me about businesses like mine that have used your service and got results. And I want to see specifics. When did it happen? How did it happen? How much frequency did they run on their schedules? What kind of offers did they make? We too often try to reinvent the wheel. Why don't we just go with proven methods and continue to use them? And again, make sure it's a good fit for our needs.
Yeah. And John, some people will come to it and say, well, radio is just too expensive for me. And I will, just give me a call and I'll show you several ways to make it very affordable. But, and I'm sure you could too. But what do you say to that? Go ahead.
Cost and expense is a relative term. Radio, at the latest figures that I saw, Tim, radio was number 2 on the list of all advertising forms in terms of cost per thousand. In other words, what does it cost me to reach 1,000 people with my message? Number 1 on that list was billboard, outdoor, which makes sense because you think of the drive-bys you'll get on an outdoor message on Division Street or Highway 15 or Interstate 94, right? So you're a lot of people are seeing your brand.
Right.
Was number 2 on that list. So we're reaching more people than most mediums, and I guess that's going to cost you more. That said, if you don't want to pay so much, use a station. Again, it's got to be a good fit for your business, but a station that demographically is right for you but has a much smaller audience. You're going to pay a much smaller price for that. But you don't need 1 million people to hear your message. You just need enough to respond so that it makes sense. It gives you a return on that investment. And again, are they going to respond? That's on you, advertiser. How good is your point of difference? How good is your offer that you make comparative to your competition? Tim, I can't tell you how often I talk to businesses and I ask that question. How are you different from everybody else in this region who sells what you sell? And I get a lot of blank stares.
Yeah.
They thought about a lot of things in starting this business, but they didn't really think about how I'm different and how I want to be different and how I want to be perceived as being different. And if you haven't done that, it's time to start right now, because that's a gospel that you should be telling everybody about. Your employees should all know it. And in any kind of marketing you do, that message should be consistent across all channels.
Yeah. And I recently had a client that I was going through this process with, and I was asking, what separates you? What makes you different? And they, it kept coming up with very cliche things. Well, we answer our phone, and, we've got customer service, the best in the area. Okay. Compared to what, and we just kept diving. And finally, I just did an interview with this client and just interviewed and talked. And after about 45 minutes of just talking about life and about their passion, all of a sudden it spilled out and their why came out. And it was like, this is why they started this. This is why they do what they do. And man, we caught that on film, edited it down, and it just turned out beautiful. It was so beautiful. And now it's an audio clip and it's a beautiful message and it's told with such passion. And it's delivered fantastic results for that client because it got down to the why, right? It got down to why you do what you do and why the client should sell out to you. And if you don't believe it yourself, why should your audience believe it, kind of a thing?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And I am a believer in cliches are cancer for an ad campaign. You know, the boss is gone sale. Get them while they last. When they're gone, they're gone. It's the sale ever. You know, I mean, come on. We're not, we've heard all this before. It's white noise to consumers.
Yeah.
Come up with something creative or different. And that takes some effort. That takes some thought. Hopefully your consultant or your partner, somebody like me, will help you in forming those ideas. But they're very important because, again, 80% of the time spent on how you're different, what you say, 20% of the time on where you advertise.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point just a little bit earlier, and we'll just about wrap up here too, John. But you talked about billboard being #1 and reaching a cume, and then radio being #2 per thousand, cost per thousand. Now, billboard's fantastic because it's visual, and you know we use that visual cortex, and bang, it kind of sticks, and we can visually see it, but it's brief and it's short. But radio brings out emotion. And how have you seen emotion within ads done really well work for a client?
That's a really good point. That's one of 4 things that when I work with clients, I try to include in ads is some element of emotion. It's not always possible, but I dig for that and try to find it wherever I can. But here's one quick story that I'll never forget. One of my fellow sales reps at Townsquare worked with a business that did microderm abrasion. Being a guy, I can't even tell you what that is, but I think it's some sort of skin treatment that helps complexion and your appearance and things like that. So as she's talking to the business owner, she said, do you have any examples of how you help people? Is there any past clients we can talk to? And the woman talked about a female client she had who had this procedure done and got great results. So we spoke with her, interviewing her, kind of like you did with your client, to try to get comments to use in a testimonial ad.
Sure.
As she's telling her story, her voice started to break up and she literally started to cry in talking to us. And she said, I'm really sorry, I apologize, but you got to understand, I was in this auto accident that caused this scarring 20 years ago, and I've tried everything. Plastic surgery, Botox, different skin treatments and oils. Nothing has worked like this worked for me, and it's changed my life. So we used her comments and ads, created a schedule, began running those ads on our 2 stations that had our strongest female demographics. And about 3 days into the schedule, the client called her account manager and said, I want you to stop those ads. And Vicki said, why, aren't they working? And she said, no, I've had like 85 to 90 calls here in 2 days. I'm booked out 6 months. I don't want anybody else to call. Moral of the story in my mind was that message was so believable, so compelling, and so resonant. The female audience on those stations, they heard that woman's genuine feelings on this, that it got the phone to ring big time. So emotion can be magic if you use it.
Yeah, and that's something that you taught me with, by getting me involved with Roy Williams. And if anyone, watching still at this point, Wizard of Ads by Roy Williams is just a fantastic first start. It's a great book, and it's built really neat too. And there's even digital downloads or Kindle of it. But Wizard of Ads by Roy Williams.
And sorry to interrupt, but that book is great for whatever you do in life. There's a lot of life truisms in that book, not only marketing. So I'm with you, Tim. I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And again, last thoughts here on radio is keep it simple. Keep it very, very simple and basic. The goal of the ad, the goal of the radio ad is not to sell your client. Unless you're doing the flash sale, then I guess you need to buy right now. But if you're looking for a long-term branding campaign, meaning longevity to this, to get you through COVID-19, to get you beyond all of the time that we're in now, keep the message simple and get them to your website. Let the website, your website, do the contemplation for your audience. Have enough on your website that does that portion of it to get them to take action. But the radio ad itself is either a quick call to action or awareness. John, would you disagree with that at all?
No, I'm with you. And I can only speak for us, Tim, but we do have a tool called Townsquare Analytics, where if a client wants to see if radio is creating that web traffic you're talking about, willing to give us read-only access to their Google Analytics, we can show them Did your radio ads create lift on your website after they happened? It's an interesting little way of trying to see if there's more return on investment in using this medium. So a little self-plug there.
Yeah, no. So when you work with your client, John, and you're setting up a radio campaign, it's not just, all right, what do you want to talk about? You're actually sitting down and creating strategy, both kind of what they should be doing website wise once their traffic is led over there, or how to answer their phones. I mean, you're going through this a little bit more extensively then.
Well, my first goal is always to find out what their goal is. I mean, do we want instant gratification with this advertising you're going to do, or do we want to see a slow burn build of the business? Tim, remember we used to talk about vertical versus horizontal.
Yeah.
Vertical is the flash sale you were talking about. It's event marketing. It's short term. It's heavy frequency. We're talking 10, 12, 15 ads a day per station. Strong offers and proper demographic targeting. If you do all of those things, there's no reason to believe you shouldn't get great results. But that's not everybody's answer. Some people say, you know, I'm not having a sale. I'm not about discounting my product. I want to tell people how I'm different.
Yeah.
Illustrate that. Now we're talking horizontal or branding. Now it's low frequency, but consistent messaging. You're on the air every day, every week, very few ads, but that frequency will build up in the mind of the consumer over time, over weeks, months, and years. So they can both be effective forms of marketing, but you have to choose which one, you know, you want first.
Yeah, so it comes down to relevance times frequency equals success. Yeah. And it's a multiplier. If you're zero relevance, you have no relevance at all, but you're on the radio all the time, you're going to get zero results.
Right.
But if you're
the message thing,
relevant, let's say you're a 5, just medium. You're 5 on frequency. You're not like the most out there, but you're a 5 on relevance, and you're right in the middle. You're doing well, and it's relevant to the times. You're going to have a 25. Like, your success and your results are going to be fantastic. It's just finding that balance and kind of where those lines cross of frequency and relevance. And you'll have that, and then mix in a radio jingle, which I'll be interviewing an expert on radio jingles. You mix in a reticular activator, or a little ting 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 type sound that sticks, that just keeps, you stand out, and it just boom, it pops.
Those are all tricks of the trade, things that really, jingles are old school, right? Oh, I don't want to do a jingle. That's what Roto-Rooter did back in 1950. You know what? Roto-Rooter's still using their jingle today. I wonder if it's working.
Yeah, Executive Express, same thing. I'm still hearing them out here. So, yeah, absolutely. It's great. So, any parting thoughts there, John, for anybody still tuned in here? And then if not, just how can people reach out to you, get in touch with you? What stations can they advertise on with you? And we'll go from there.
The only parting thought I'd have, Tim, is that I believe strongly in my medium, but again, I also deal in the digital space, and I see the benefits there. I have friends who work in newspaper advertising, outdoor, indoor cinema advertising. Again, they all have their place for the right business. So do a little investigation, look into them all. And if you think that possibly radio or targeted digital would be of interest to you, you can reach out to me, Townsquare Media in St. Cloud.
You're the only John Schroeder there.
I'm the only John Schroeder. So Google it, grab a phone number. I'm not going to give you a phone number because we don't remember phone numbers. That's why I don't put them in radio ads. You don't.
Well, I just displayed it on the bottom of the screen there for you.
Oh, well, thank you. You're a kind soul, Tim. So yeah, feel free to reach out at any time. And I'd say feel free to reach out to Tim too, because it's good to have a non-biased consultant like Tim, who knows a lot about all mediums, all forms of advertising. And he can help you, again, determine is a particular medium or type of advertising right for what your needs are.
Well, I appreciate that kindness, John. And I do 3-2-1 Ignite. My clients can meet with me for up to 3 months, 1 meeting a month for up to 2 hours at a time. And it might be executing a project. It might just be consulting. It might be whatever it is, but 2 hours dedicated time. If you've never worked with me before, for up to 3 months, 3 sessions. Sometimes people speed it up, but I always offer that. So if they're in need of helping, write some radio ads, they can come through me, but also you have a production crew right over on site there as well, right, John?
Correct. Yes. Yeah, we do full service on both on-air and digital production. So
awesome. Well, cool. Well, thanks again, John. I appreciate you sticking around a little bit longer at work here today, and but go enjoy your weekend, and appreciate you sharing your knowledge and expertise with everybody here today too. All
good to talk to you. Yeah, good to talk to you, Tim.
Likewise. Thanks, John.
Marketing and advertising. Marketing and advertising. Hi, this is Timothy Schmidt, the founder of Agency 511 Marketing and Advertising Company. For the past 17 years, I've been helping companies tell their story through various channels of marketing and advertising. Marketing is multifaceted and complex, but your message should be simple and clear. So when you have marketing and advertising on your mind 24/7, think Agency 511, agency511.com.